Major General Alana Greer stepped out of her government-issued vehicle near a federal building in Washington, D.C., her uniform crisp, medals gleaming, and insignia clearly displayed on her shoulders. After 28 years of distinguished military service, commanding overseas troops, advising presidents, and leading humanitarian missions in disaster zones, she had learned to carry herself with quiet authority. Yet despite her decorated history and the respect her rank commanded, she understood a harsh reality that many successful black women face. Bias doesn't disappear with achievement. She was en route to deliver a classified briefing at a high-security federal agency. Her security detail had been delayed, and with limited parking available, she decided to park several blocks away and walk the remaining distance. As she gathered her classified files from the vehicle, two local police officers approached her. They had been responding to a report of a suspicious person in military gear in the area. General Greer greeted the officers calmly and immediately offered her credentials. However, the moment she spoke, their demeanor shifted to one of skepticism and disrespect. "Where'd you get that uniform?" one officer asked with a smirk. When she identified herself as a major general with the Department of Defense, the second officer cut her off dismissively, saying, "You got any real ID? Not this cosplay stuff." Despite the gleaming insignia on her shoulders and the classified access badge hanging from her lanyard, the officers had already made their judgment based on her appearance. They told her that the real general wouldn't be a black woman with braids, and refused to take her identification seriously. When General Greer calmly stated that they were detaining a federal officer, they ignored her completely. What happened next would become a defining moment that exposed the intersection of racial bias and abuse of authority. The officers pulled her arms behind her back and handcuffed her in full view of gathering bystanders. A witness began recording the incident on their phone. Rather than shouting or cursing, General Greer leaned forward and delivered a measured warning. "This will be a very short mistake with a very long consequence." From the back seat of the police cruiser, still handcuffed, General Greer reached into her breast pocket where she kept a secure satellite phone for high-priority situations. She placed a single call to Lieutenant General Royce, her superior at the Pentagon. With characteristic calm and precision, she provided a concise report of what had occurred, who was involved, and confirmed that the entire incident had been recorded by witnesses. General Royce's response was immediate and decisive. He contacted Homeland Security, the Office of the Inspector General, and the Defense Department's legal division. The officers' actions weren't merely disrespectful, they constituted a violation of military protocol and federal law. Combined with the surveillance footage and witness testimony, it presented a clear case of racial profiling against a high-ranking federal officer. Within 5 minutes, both officers' radios crackled with an urgent message. Units 43 and 45 stand by for immediate supervisor contact. You are to remain at your location and release the detained subject immediately. The supervising sergeant arrived within 2 minutes, his face turning pale when he saw who was handcuffed in the back of the cruiser. "General Greer," he stammered. "Ma'am, I'm—" General Greer was already stepping out of the vehicle, hands free, brushing off her uniform with quiet composure. The bystander who had been filming looked stunned at the rapid turn of events. One of the officers began offering an awkward, performative apology, clearly more concerned about salvaging his career than understanding his actions. General Greer raised her hand to stop him. "You don't apologize to salvage your job. You apologize when you understand what you've done." The supervisor assured her that the incident would be escalated to internal affairs and federal review, but the damage was already done. The witness video was rapidly going viral on social media, and the moment the Pentagon became involved, the consequences accelerated exponentially. General Greer wasn't just any soldier, she was a trusted federal asset with direct access to the highest levels of government, and she knew exactly how to fight back through official channels. By the end of that day, both officers were placed on immediate administrative leave pending a full internal affairs investigation. The recorded footage, verified and cross-referenced with General Greer's federal credentials, became part of a scathing report that reached the mayor's office and the chief of police. The Pentagon's official response was swift and unapologetic. Major General Greer's treatment was not only a personal insult to her distinguished service but a breach of operational security. It will not be tolerated. News outlets quickly picked up the story, with headlines declaring, "Decorated Black General wrongfully detained in full uniform. Call to Pentagon ends police officers' careers." However, General Greer never sought the spotlight. She didn't hold press conferences or rant on social media. Instead, she went to her scheduled classified briefing later that same day, arriving on time, in uniform, with her head held high. She understood that absolute power doesn't need revenge, it just needs truth and the right platform. A month later, the investigation concluded with both officers being permanently dismissed from the force. The inquiry revealed that this wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of similar complaints against both men. General Greer used this moment as a catalyst for systemic change, pushing for mandatory training on racial bias and military protocol for law enforcement agencies nationwide. Working with the Department of Defense, she helped create and release a public service announcement that was distributed across military bases, police academies, and government offices. The message was clear and powerful. This is what a general looks like. This is what respect looks like. And this is what accountability must look like. General Greer's goal wasn't revenge, it was reform. She recognized that this incident wasn't just about her personal experience, but represented the broader struggles of every black woman who had been told she didn't belong in positions of authority, even when she had earned her place through merit and dedication. Her final message to law enforcement resonated far beyond that single incident. My uniform doesn't protect me from racism, but my rank protects others from your ignorance. Next time, think before you cuff your career. Through her measured response and strategic use of her position, General Greer transformed a moment of injustice into a powerful lesson about respect, accountability, and the ongoing fight against systemic bias in American institutions.